That is 1 litter.
It's all 1 litter. Wow, she has a lot of babies.
Yes, she did.
Okay. What I want to do is I'm going to set this on the floor. I'm going to show you something.
I don't know what it is.
Okay. First thing when you're evaluating your babies, what you want to do is look at them in the cage. Let them move around and walk. Okay, and if you look at it from the top, you look at it from the side, you can pick out things. Okay, look that one that's standing up right there. Look how wide his shoulders are. Look at the one next to it. Look how narrow the shoulders are on that one.
Which one?
This one right here. See how wide the shoulders are compared to this one here? Okay, or like this one, see how narrow that one is compared to that one? You can see things by just looking at the animals. That's what the first thing you want to do when you're evaluating your babies. You can see color. You can see markings. If it's like this is a roan, obviously, if you're looking for roans, you basically have one in there that's got good roaning on it. Okay, you can see that just by looking in the cage. That's your first step in evaluating your babies. Okay, then what we do next, we'll take them out and we'll put them on the table. Take a couple of them out. Okay, you set them, actually set them up on the table like you were judging. And you look for the good round hips. You look for ones that have cowhocks. You look for the nice U-shaped shoulders on them. You look at the color. You look at the ear carriage. Okay, now you look at these 2 animals. See how high the ears are on this one here? And they're tipped up like that? That's improper ear carriage on it. But these will come down some as they get older, but you're still gonna have a different angle to the ear. You're gonna have the angle sitting back here. This one here, see how the angle's a lot flatter? Now that's more of the ear carriage you want, because this one here is always gonna have higher ears even if the ears come down. Okay, you look for things like on the ears of this one. See, you start to fold back a little bit on itself. That's not a major thing, but it is a fault in the ear. You want the ear to be nice and flat. And then you look at your color. Now feel this baby here. Okay, put your hands on your shoulders like that. Feel how wide the shoulders are on that? Take a look at this one here. Feel the shoulders on that. You feel the difference?
This one's my side.
Yeah, this one here, right? You want the nice wide shoulders. Oops, quick feet. Feel the shoulders on that? See how much wider the shoulders are on this one here? And this one has what I call the U-shaped shoulders. This one here has more of the A-shaped shoulders, where it's wide down here, but it comes up more of an A-shaped. Again, you look at the hips like I showed you on the other animal. See how nice and round the hips are on it. This one's feet stick out just a little bit, not bad. This one has a little bit more. You can feel you catch your fingers on the hips. And every litter you have, for the most part, you're gonna have one that's really good possibly, and then ones that aren't quite so good, but you have to be breeders by looking at them and evaluating the animals. And those are kind of the things I look at when I'm selecting babies. We raise a lot of creams and whites. I look at the creams, yeah I know, those ugly colors, right?
No, cream is really hard to get the right color.
Oh, it sure is. Now we've been raising cream Americans for almost 40 years, and white Americans for almost 40 years. We still, after all those years, have not had a cream that I consider to be the perfect cream. I like a very, very light, delicate shade of cream, and it's really hard to get that. Now we've done a lot of winning with our creams. We've won a lot of varieties at nationals with our creams, but I know the faults on our creams. Creams a lot of times will have a little bit lighter undercolor. Same problem with your reds, your blacks, and your self-colors. If you run the coat back, you can see it's lighter underneath. The color is supposed to be the same all the way to the skin. And it generally, there's very few animals that have it all the way to the skin, unless it's a satin. But if you look at it, you evaluate it. I know that if ours are white underneath, that's not good. You want it to be as cream as far down as possible. What you tend to happen when you start getting a lighter shade of cream, you start losing your undercolor. So it's always a balance going back and forth. I think probably the best creams I've ever seen as far as top color goes was a lady named Ann Scheffler in Canada. If you looked at them and you looked quick, you would swear they were whites, but they were actually cream on top. They were beautiful, delicate shade of cream, but they were white as a sheet underneath. So it's, you know, you have that problem. But those are all things, with your variety, you need to learn your variety. You need to look at the standard and see what the most important things in your varieties are. Another fault with the creams, a lot of times creams have a lighter belly than the top color. If you turn it over, the color is supposed to be the same all the way around. Solid silvers and solid goldens are another one that's famous for that. If you turn them over, they look different. Part of it's because the hair is shorter on the belly, but there are ones out there that have good even color all the way around. Those are different faults. An agouti, if you have eye circles on an agouti, that's a fault. They have that on solid silvers too. If you look at the eyes on solid silvers or solid goldens, where they're dark around the eye, that's supposed to be the same color as the rest of the body. A lot of times they don't have it. So those are all things you look at as a judge. I compare the animals. We don't judge by points. The points are only assigned to let us know what the most important things are in the different varieties we're doing. So, is there any questions out there? Any things you want to toss out that you want to have answers to?
We were curious about.
Okay, I'll tell you what I say on this one here. Okay. She is, I would call her a beige right now, but another judge will tell you it's not. This is the one I was telling you where the color can go either way. I tend to look at the ears. If I think they look gray, I call it a lilac. If I think they look a bit more brown, I call it a beige, okay? But if you have a good beige, it's brown. I mean, there's no question that it's a beige. If you have good lilac, it's the gray pinky dove color. It's definitely gray shade. And if you have a good one of either color, it's really obvious. You have, with those two varieties, you have a lot of ones that are sort of in between. Okay, and there's, you have to look for different ones to try to read. This one's got actually pretty good distribution of color. This is one, see how the ears on this one here come right back to the eyes. Another one I was telling you has really good ear carriage right on it. He's got really good shape. Now, a marked animal, you have 50 points on markings. You don't have to have as good a type or a good head on an animal for it to win, okay? Because you got so many points on marking. If you have both, you've got really good markings, a really good type, you got yourself a really nice animal. So it's broken colors are difficult to get good markings. A lot of your patched animals, it's a lot of work to get the right markings on it. You get your dowels.
Her little orange spot, how does that factor in?
Okay, in a broken color, you have to have at least two 50-cent sized pieces of a color to be considered a broken color. You can have other patches, bigger or smaller, a third or fourth color, and they don't. What happens with that? It's not a disqualification for. I would consider that poor distribution, not poor, but only fair distribution of color, because you really should have a red patch maybe over here and a red patch here to balance out the markings. But as a judge, I don't disqualify it for that, because it doesn't have to have 50-cent size piece of that color. Another thing I'm going to tell you, when judges are looking at color, everybody sees color differently. And it's what my eye sees may not be the same color that Kenny sees, or another judge. And we evaluate by what we see, and we evaluate by what our interpretation of the standard is. If we all judge exactly the same and we interpret the standard exactly the same, showing would be boring. Yeah, it'd be boring, because you'd come to the show and be the same thing week after week. And again, what my interpretation of the standard is may not be your interpretation of it. And it doesn't mean that I'm wrong or that you're wrong, it's just your interpretation. I've had arguments with judges that are really good friends. I had a Peruvian one time that was half black and half white. The line was right down the middle of it. I placed the animal best of breed, best of breed that show. Another judge came to me, told me that animal should have been disqualified. It's only got one patch. And I said, well, no, it doesn't. It's got two patches. If you consider the definition of a patch, if a color surrounded by another color is a patch, then in the same instance, the other color is surrounded by the other color is a patch. So it's just different interpretations of what the standard says. Don't be offended if a judge, doesn't like your animal or says, well, this is a fault, and the next judge says, oh, this is the best in show animal. All it is an opinion. That's why I say you have to decide yourself what you want for your standard of your breed or variety, and breed true to that. If you stop trying to make changes and make your animals better, you're never gonna go anywhere. We've been doing it for, like I said, over 40 years, and I'm still trying to improve our animals. We still try to select the best ones in type and color. If we don't have something in our variety, we may go outside to somebody that does have it in their variety and cross it in. You don't wanna have a whole bunch of animals and just throw them together. You wanna try to set up your line and breed that way. We line breed. Some breeders don't do that. We breed father to daughter and mother to son, and we had 15 years with our whites and creams where we didn't bring any outside animals into it. We started having a few faults that we wanted to fix, so we brought some outside animals in to correct those problems. So don't be afraid to work your animals, and please don't be afraid to breed to what you like. Okay, you're gonna have some judges you're gonna do well under, you're gonna have some judges you don't do well under. I had a judge for years that when we showed under her, we got last in the class every time. With an animal that might have gotten best in show under another judge the day before, because she felt our ears were too big. Did I agree with her?
I thought your ears were what?
They were too big. That was the exact comment that was given. Okay, and there's nothing in the standard that says how large your ears or small the ears have to be. They have to be slightly fallen. If you want to say ours were too much fallen and drooping too bad, that's in the standard. But again, that was her opinion. So you just, we go and have fun at the shows. I like the person a lot, but I just knew I wasn't going to do a thing at the show. But just, be aware of that when you're showing. Don't feel bad if a judge says, well, that animal's not that good today. The one thing a couple things I'll point out to you. When you put an animal on the show table, make sure it's in good condition. If it's not in good condition on that day, it might be best to leave it home. Okay, even though you know it might be a good animal when it's in condition, you want to show the best the animal has. Okay, to me, the condition on an animal, that's the one thing that we have control over. We don't have control over what's going to come when you put two babies together. That's the luck of the draw. You may use, when you know this will cross well with this, you may use past knowledge to know you're going to get the babies out of this one pair, but that's our guessing of what we're going to get out of the babies. The conditioning that's what we feed, that's how we take care of the animals. That's all something that we have control over, and that's basically the one thing that we do have control over. Just be aware of that when you're showing an animal. Don't bring an animal put on the table that's real thin in body or missing, all the hair on the belly or something. I know you want to show it, but you're better off leaving it out at home and getting it back in condition so you show it in best condition.
Missing hair on the belly is DQ. Bald spot.
Yeah, not if it's just thin. If it's got a bald spot, it's a DQ. But you got a lot of times they'll have thin coats
Dan
on
like
the
no
belly.
hair?
Okay. One thing I will point out, when you're getting ready to show your animals, trim your nails.
Oh.
Okay, for two reasons. One, the judge won't get all scratched to death when you're judging. But the most important thing is, when you trim the nails of your animals, especially Americans, they will pose better on the table. If you have these big, long, curly nails on them, there's up on the end of their toe, they don't pose properly. It's a very simple thing to do to trim the nails that will really affect how your animal poses. Washing, if you wash your Americans, we do for big shows, we wash our animals. We generally we'll do it 2 to 3 weeks ahead of the show. And what that does, it gets the coat time to get the oils back into it, for it to lay down better. You will notice a marked difference in how the coat feels. The important thing when you're washing is make sure you rinse out the shampoo completely. If you don't, the coat will feel sticky and gooey. That's for any animal you wash. Your long hair, everything. I have long hairs that come across the table sometimes that they didn't get all the shampoo out, and believe me, you can really tell. If the coat looks clumpy, if you've got a clean coat, your coat is not going to look clumpy. Okay, but those are the different things that we do. Any questions or any topics you wanna talk about with the Americans?
Do you wanna run through posing?